about how to take care of and maintain your flute. It's important to know all the parts of your flute first so that you can correctly describe what's going on to a technician if you ever need to, and you can also correctly identify what's going on with each piece. So this part is called the head joint. Well, that's pretty easy. We all have a head, and this is the head joint. Well, next, below it is the body. Okay, that's also pretty easy. And the lowest joint that attaches to the flute is called the foot joint. So first off, when you put your flute together, you want to bring the pieces together straight on, not at an angle. And here's why. The tenon, or the part that goes into the joint, is very, very thin, and it can be easily bent. It's really expensive to have to repair a bent flute like that. Also, it won't play well. Also, it won't go into the joint very well. So when you put together your flute, bring both pieces square on. It's okay to hold the head joint gently like this. It's also okay to close the keys with the other hand. You're not going to hurt them by closing them. You will hurt them by twisting them if you do that, but we just want to gently close the hand around them and then gently twist the head joint into the body. First step. Now, all manufactured flutes are made so that they're roughly in tune with themselves when the head joint is 1/4 of an inch outside of the body. Now, you can't see it on my flute, but on a student flute, there's a line that separates the silver plating from the metal underneath. Could be brass or nickel silver or something, but you can see that. When there is 1/4 of an inch, or about 1/2 of your thumbnail, sticking up out of the joint where you can see your head joint, that's just about right. It doesn't mean your flute is totally in tune. It doesn't mean it'll be in tune when you play it. All it means is it's roughly in tune with itself. So avoid the temptation to push the head joint all the way down into the flute, because it's going to be really sharp compared to the other flutes in your band. Okay, so when we line up the head joint with the body, and this is extremely important to do because if you remember from one of my former videos, you are the mouthpiece, and the angle of the air has everything to do with whether or not you'll make a sound, whether or not you're going to even make a good sound. So line up the center of the embouchure hole with the center of that first key. Now, we humans cannot see that far in our line of vision. So what I do is I take my thumbnail and I place it in the center of these two pieces, and I can see from the first key to my thumbnail, if that's in line. Then I look from my thumbnail up to the embouchure hole and see if that is in line. If those two are directly in line, we're good to go. Next, foot joint. Like the other two pieces, we're going to bring these straight onto each other and gently twist. If the joints don't easily twist to each other, we'll need to either clean the tenon extremely well, because dirt and moisture can accumulate there and cause it to be hard to go on, or it may need to see a flute repairman. Something about alignment that you should know, that is, the foot joint mechanism, the rod that holds the keys on, should fall right about the center of that next key up. Some people think with their sense of logic that both of these rods should be lined up directly, but that prevents the pinky from being able to reach its key, and so that's not desirable for us. We want that rod to be right in the center of that other key right there. Okay, next thing for maintenance, taking the flute apart. We're going to twist off gently, just like we put it together, and place each piece in the case in the little slot it belongs. And that's for safekeeping while we clean the flute out. To clean out the moisture from your flute, you'll take the cleaning rod that came with your flute, looks like a needle, and we'll feed the cleaning cloth through the needle. We'll take the corner stick it through the eye there, and then wrap the other part over the tip of the cleaning rod. If you don't have a piece of fabric, a piece of t-shirt will do. This cloth is about 10 or 12 inches square and it absorbs moisture, so it will work perfectly. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a cleaning kit in order to clean your flute well. I'm going to take the foot joint first and clean it out. This is important because if moisture resides in any joint of the flute, then it's going to stay in your case. Moisture can damage the pads on your flute, so it's really important after you've played it to get that moisture out. I start with the piece that has the least moisture in it already. Same thing for the body of the flute. The cleaning rod won't go all the way through, so I go halfway, twist a little, go in the other side, twist a little bit more. Now my body is dry. The head joint should be the most moist part because as you exhale your air over the embouchure hole, it contains moisture. Moisture will accumulate in the head joint. It's not spit, it's moisture from your air. So we'll clean this out really, really well. I avoid using fuzzy cleaners because they can get trapped in the key work of the flute and it can damage if you pull on it or whatever. Every now and then you'll want to clean the outside of your flute. It's important to get fingerprints off, especially if you are a person who has acidity in your skin. The fingerprints will stay on the flute and etch themselves into the finish of the flute. So wiping it down on the outside is a really good idea. This cleaning cloth is made of flannel. On the inside is specially treated flannel. You can see the black spots on there. That's the tarnish that has come off of my flute because it's silver and silver does tarnish. So I'll wipe it down really good with that, being very careful around the keys so that I don't pull or yank anything. The keys are delicate and they can come out of alignment pretty easily. So wipe it down maybe every week or so if you don't have acidic skin, and if you do, you'll have to do it every time you play it. So once your flute is nice and safe in its case, it can go in its case cover or the flute carrier that you have it for, or maybe in your backpack if you're taking it to school. But here's some really special rules about transporting it. Your flute is like a piece of jewelry, or maybe like a fine watch. It doesn't handle vibration very well. If you have a beginner flute, it's sturdier, handles vibration better, but something like a jolt or a jar or even dropping your flute while it's in its case can put it out of alignment. And it needs to be realigned every 6 months to a year anyway, but you can avoid unnecessary repair expenses by taking care to transport it gently. Also, can't leave it in a hot car. Can't leave it in a cold car. In a hot car, 10 minutes and it could be damaged. So I really recommend that you keep it with you in a controlled temperature all the time. As I said before, you'll want to have your flute seen by a technician every 6 to 12 months. Just like a car needs an oil change and a tune-up, your flute does too. Don't use oil on your flute by yourself. If your technician sees that it needs it, he or she will put some on that for you. It also has to be regulated. We want to be sure that all of the keys are the same height above the body because we don't want the fingers traveling different distances to close the tone holes. This is also something a repairman can do. Don't attempt to repair it yourself. Sometimes even the springs, which are very delicate inside, don't close or open the keys the way they should. Let your teacher or the repairman look at that for you, because if those are bent, then the key will not be operable, and you'll probably end up paying a lot more to repair the flute than you had anticipated before. So get it seen often. Take good care of this. This is a big responsibility. You take care of your flute will take care of you.